Florentino Perez steps onto the stage and, as has happened so many times throughout the recent history of Real Madrid, everything suddenly begins to take on a different, almost solemn meaning. When the club's president decides to become personally involved in an operation, it is never a routine market move, nor just another rumor fueled by media speculation or outside interests. It is a clear and unmistakable signal, both internally and externally, that Real Madrid has identified a strategic opportunity of the highest level. One of those rare moments that do not appear every summer and that, when seized, often mark the beginning of a new winning cycle. Within this context, the name Julian Alvarez has evolved from being an attractive option on paper into a genuine, carefully studied possibility, scrutinized from every angle and highlighted in red within the offices of the Santiago Bernabéu. Among Madridistas, there is a special sensitivity for sensing when something important is being prepared behind the scenes. It is almost a collective intuition, shaped by decades of decisive choices and historic moments. Official statements, calculated leaks, or sensational headlines are not always necessary to understand that the club is moving. Sometimes it is enough to observe the silent steps, discreet meetings, private conversations, calls that never reach the public eye, and decisions made far from the media spotlight. Real Madrid does not act on impulse, nor does it bend to external pressure. Its way of operating is based on anticipation, on reading future scenarios, and on a deeply rooted belief that success is never improvised. It is built over time, with judgment, patience, and a very clear vision of where the club wants to go. The interest in Julian Alvarez is not the result of coincidence or a passing trend. It is not driven solely by the impact of a strong season or a temporary scoring streak. Instead, it responds to a clear sporting logic that is fully aligned with the policy Real Madrid has been developing in recent years. The club consistently looks for players who can perform from day one, footballers accustomed to the highest level of demand, with elite experience, a competitive edge, and the mental strength required to handle the pressure that comes with wearing the white shirt. In that sense, the Argentine forward fits the profile almost perfectly. He is neither an unpolished prospect nor a name designed merely to spark short-term excitement. He is a fully formed player, with international experience, ready to compete at the highest level and take on responsibility from the very first moment. Moreover, Julian Alvarez embodies a type of footballer that is particularly valued at Valdebebas: versatile, tactically intelligent, and driven by an unquestionable work ethic. He can adapt to different systems, interpret multiple attacking roles, and offer a wide range of solutions to any coach. He is not just a pure goal scorer, but a modern forward, capable of linking up with teammates, pressing relentlessly, reading space intelligently, and actively contributing to the collective game. This profile fits seamlessly into a Real Madrid that is looking toward the future without sacrificing immediate competitiveness. From the club's executive offices, the broader context of the sporting project is also carefully considered. Real Madrid finds itself in a phase of controlled transition, where established stars coexist with young talents destined to define an era. In this delicate balance, every signing must respond not only to a present-day need but also to a medium and long-term vision. Julian Alvarez fits naturally into this equation as a player who can deliver instant performance while continuing to grow alongside the core of the team for many seasons to come. Florentino Perez's direct involvement adds a symbolic dimension that does not go unnoticed. The president is not known for taking unnecessary risks or personally engaging in operations he does not consider strategic. When he does step in, it is because he believes the move can have a significant sporting, institutional, and media impact. From this perspective, a potential move for Julian Alvarez is not seen merely as the signing of a top striker, but as a statement of intent. Real Madrid remains vigilant in the market, continues to anticipate its rivals, and remains fully committed to strengthening its squad with players who embody its competitive DNA. Madridismo, fully aware of all this, watches with a mix of expectation and calm. Supporters understand that major operations are not completed overnight and that the club works quietly, far from the noise. But they also know that when Florentino Perez makes his move, the outcome is usually worthy of Real Madrid's history. In this scenario, the name Julian Alvarez no longer sounds like a simple rumor. It feels like a real possibility, one that could mark a turning point in the immediate future of the club in white. In this scenario, a decisive element emerges, one that changes everything and forces a complete re-evaluation of both the present and the immediate future of Real Madrid: the potential departure of Rodrigo Goes. A move that, when viewed from the outside, may provoke uncertainty, emotional debate, or even outright rejection among sections of the fanbase. However, within the internal structure of the club, This possibility is understood through a radically different lens. Far from being perceived as a weakness or a traumatic loss, it is considered a natural consequence of the philosophy that has defined Real Madrid for decades. This is a club that never stands still, that refuses to live off past achievements, and that never sacrifices tomorrow for the nostalgia of today. Real Madrid does not cling to names, personal legacies, or even successful narratives when it comes to building the future. Every decision is the result of meticulous planning, calculated down to the smallest detail, unemotional in form yet deeply coherent in substance. Nothing is left to chance. The potential exit of Rodrygo would not represent an ending or a sporting surrender, but rather the beginning of a far more ambitious operation. One designed to optimize resources, free up wage space, generate immediate liquidity, and above all, strategically open a sporting position for the arrival of a truly transformative player. A player capable of raising the team's competitive level from day one and fitting seamlessly into a project that looks well beyond a single season. In this context, it is essential to acknowledge that Rodrygo has been a valuable, committed, and decisive footballer. His goals on the biggest nights, his ability to step up when the margin for error was minimal, and his steady development have been instrumental in the club's recent successes. Yet Real Madrid does not evaluate its players solely on what they have been, but on what they can become in relation to the collective needs of the squad. And when the club determines that a player's cycle may have reached its optimal market peak, both sporting and economic, it does not hesitate to act. Florentino Perez has demonstrated, time and again, an extraordinary ability to sell at precisely the right moment. A near-surgical instinct for identifying when a player has reached maximum value. This is not about discarding talent on a whim, nor about impulsive decisions. Quite the opposite. It is a global reading of modern football, where financial management, sporting projection, and constant squad renewal form part of the same equation. In this sense, a potential Rodrygo exit fits perfectly within the club's long-standing tradition, selling well in order to grow better. This is not an emotional issue, nor one of affection or gratitude, although all of that undeniably exists. It is a matter of performance, planning, and ambition. Real Madrid does not allow itself the luxury of stagnation. It always looks one step ahead of the rest, always seeks to anticipate the market, stay ahead of emerging trends, and build teams that do not merely compete, but dominate. And that is where the next piece on the board comes into play. Because in the space that Rodrygo could leave behind, the club does not see a void, but an opportunity. And it is precisely there that Julian Alvarez emerges as the figure capable of completing the puzzle. A footballer who perfectly embodies the profile demanded by today's elite football. He is a modern, complete forward, intense, relentless, constantly mobile, capable of unsettling defenses with intelligent movement and tactical awareness that allows him to interpret every phase of the game. A player who can press high, combine in tight spaces, drift wide, attack the box, and appear in decisive moments without needing to dominate possession. Julian Alvarez is not merely a goal scorer. He is collective impact. He is tempo. He is competitive aggression. He is a winning mentality. A footballer who understands the game from a team-oriented perspective and elevates the performance of those around him. His presence multiplies attacking options, provides solutions across multiple tactical registers, and gives the coach enormous strategic flexibility. He can operate as a central reference, a second striker, an inverted winger, or even a false nine, adapting to different systems without losing effectiveness. Moreover, Julian is a player forged in environments of maximum pressure. He does not hide, he does not fade in big matches, and the weight of expectation does not burden him. On the contrary, he appears to thrive when the spotlight is brightest and the demand is at its highest. That profile aligns perfectly with the identity of Real Madrid, a club where only those capable of performing when everything is on the line truly endure. In a team that aspires to dominate Europe consistently, individual talent alone is not enough. Character, sacrifice, game intelligence, and an insatiable hunger to keep winning are essential. The potential transition from Rodrygo to Julian Alvarez would not be a simple exchange of names, but a natural evolution of the project. A further step toward a Real Madrid that is even more competitive, more dynamic, and better prepared to face the immediate future and the great challenges that lie ahead. Thus, what may appear from the outside as a loss is internally interpreted as a strategic opportunity. Just another move in a game that Real Madrid has known how to play better than anyone else for decades. Real Madrid does not act on impulses or fleeting trends. It never has. When the club evaluates the signing of a player, it does not simply rely on statistics, goals, or viral highlights. It seeks something far more complex and demanding, a profile capable of thriving under the daily pressure of the Santiago Bernabéu, withstanding constant criticism, shouldering the unrelenting obligation to win, and integrating into an internal culture where no position is ever guaranteed. In that environment, Real Madrid does not look for a mere finisher. It seeks a complete footballer, competitive, resilient, and mentally prepared for a setting where excellence is not an aspiration, but an expectation. Julian Alvarez fits that description almost instinctively. His off-the-ball intensity, tactical intelligence in interpreting spaces, adaptability across different offensive roles, and, above all, his quiet ambition make him a player who resonates directly with the historical DNA of the club. He is not a player who seeks constant spotlights or makes grandiose statements. He communicates through performance, sacrifice, and a winning mentality forged in high-pressure contexts. This type of profile is precisely what Real Madrid values not only when addressing immediate needs but, more importantly, when planning for the future. Within the club's executive offices, Florentino Perez does not see Julian Alvarez as a temporary signing or a mere market opportunity. He views him as a structural component of the sporting project, a player designed to lead processes, take responsibility on the biggest nights, and grow within an environment that does not tolerate complacency or mediocrity. At Real Madrid, those who relax disappear. Julian represents the exact opposite: relentless hunger, innate competitiveness, and a work ethic that elevates the collective level. It would not be the first time the club makes decisions that provoke debate, doubt, or even short-term criticism. Real Madrid's history is full of moves initially misunderstood but later fully vindicated. The potential departure of Rodrigo must be assessed through the same strategic lens, not through nostalgia or emotional attachment, but through the relentless ambition to continue winning and reinventing. Real Madrid has always been bigger than any individual player, no matter how important, and it is precisely this philosophy that has allowed the club to remain at the pinnacle of world football for decades. The club is built not by looking backward, but by anticipating what lies ahead. In that process, every decision directly affects the competitive balance of the squad. Any departure will not be driven by whim or urgency, but because it fits into a broader plan, a plan aimed at sustaining sporting supremacy in an increasingly demanding, physical, and tactical football landscape. The pursuit of Julian Alvarez is not born of improvisation or a reactive response to market events. It is the result of a deep reading of the European football context, the evolution of the game, and a clear understanding of the timing Real Madrid operates within. Wearing the white shirt is not just another option in a professional career. It is a historic, sporting, and media milestone. It entails assuming global responsibility, competing under scrutiny every 3 days, and performing when the stage demands greatness. When Florentino Perez makes a call, it is never with empty promises or vague projects. He calls with a clear vision, a defined roadmap, and the conviction that the player he contacts is prepared to be part of something greater than himself. That call does not guarantee comfort, but it does offer the chance to enter the history of the most decorated football club in the world. This is only the beginning. Julian Alvarez's name will continue to gain weight in Real Madrid discussions, both in executive meetings and among fans. Rodrigo's potential departure will set the pace of operations and define the club's maneuvering room in the market. Meanwhile, Real Madrid will move forward with confidence, quietly, and without straying from its identity, as it always has. At Real Madrid, nothing happens by chance. Every move is part of a long-term vision, a strategy designed to sustain success and ensure the club competes for everything, every single year. And when Florentino Perez decides to make a move, he does so with the certainty that he is laying the foundations for the next winning cycle. Because at Real Madrid, the future is not waited for, it is built.